All right, so after we have our guides set up, you should have taken a picture of yourself, got it downloaded, and now you're ready to import it. Before we do that, right now these guides, they're they're movable. You can click on them and move them. And I don't want them to get in your way, so we're going to lock the guides. So go to View, go to Guides, and then Lock Guides. And that way you can't click on them and move them. When you go to adjust anything, it won't get in your way later. The other thing I want to make sure of is that you named your artboard. And right now I deleted the layer, the empty layer that was in the artboard. So there's nothing in here until you place your file. So go to File, Place Embedded. If you downloaded it, of course, you can drag it in. Know where you downloaded it to. I have mine in here. Get it placed in there. And we're just going to size it down a little bit. This is going to be the main part of your front cover of your album. All right, so you will see that we have the little icon here. So the smart object, this is a smart object right now, which is fine. We will be taking and deleting that to a copy here in just a second, but know that it's a smart object. If you don't have a set up as a smart object right now, not a big deal. It doesn't have to be. Or if you want it to be, you can right click and say convert to smart object. So it would be there. And then it would turn it into a smart object. Okay, so then we're going to go select and subject. You can see when I do that, it's going to select me pretty well, but it's not going to select my saltwater taffy. So we need to go and do a refine mask. To do that, let's go into your quick selection tool. It could be any of these, object, quick, or magic wand tool. As long as you're in this tool, you get this select and mask option. When you click on that, it'll get you to a window where you can make some adjustments. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I'm just focused on my candy. Look how focused I am. I'm also going to change the opacity because right now it's on view on white, which is fine, but the opacity is down a lot. So if I go on black and then change the opacity, I can kind of dial it to where I can see where the mask is and where the mask is not, and where my Laffy Taffy is. So with my refine mask, I'm going to shrink it down with my brackets and then paint in. This is where I want it around that dude right there. You'll think. Doesn't do a great job right now. I'm going to fill all that in. There we go. Okay, so that looks okay. You, depending on your image, may not have to do anything. Yeah, that works. But after you do the refine mask, you're going to hit OK, and then you're going to get the marching ants. With the marching ants, now you can make a layer mask. And voila, we have our image masked. Okay, so now, excuse me, we are going to be destroying this photo. Destroying means destructive. So there's destructive and non-destructive ways we can edit a photo. And right now with the layer mask, this is non-destructive because we can always delete it and get or add to that layer mask or delete it. A smart object also helps preserve the editing capabilities of the photo so we don't destroy it. But there are times where we really have to mess with those pixels and adjust you know how those pixels live on there. So we'll be doing that in a second. But what I want to do is we are going to create a folder. So click on the little folder in the bottom. We're going to name that folder Originals. And this is where the original files are going to live, just in case we mess up anything and we need to go back and grab an original and do something over. Now that we have that folder, right now there's nothing in it. I can open it and close it and nothing is popping out. We're going to put a copy of this layer, so Control J or Command J on the Mac. You can see it says copy. I'm going to drag that copy inside of that folder. Now when I collapse it and open it, you can see it's indented. That means this image copy is now inside of that folder. I'll just drag my photo on top. I'll have these originals just kind of live there on the bottom. And I want to hide the layer so I know that it's not open, because, you know, say I hide the layer on that image there, and I open the folder, everything that's in the folder is going to show up, which is we need to have this closed, because anything that we change on this image now, if we have this turned on, we're not going to see those changes. Okay, so we're going to take our marquee tool. We're going to end up cutting our photo kind of at an angle. But using the marquee tool, drag a rectangle any size you'd like. If you hover over the edge, you can make, you can move it around, you can make some minor adjustments, but you can't rotate it, you can't really make it bigger. And so to do that, we need to go to select and then transform selection. And that way we get this bounding box, and we're able to move this marquee marching ants around. And no, when we're moving things in Illustrator, if we just grab a corner and drag, it's going to keep it's going to constrain, so it's going to stay the same style of rectangle, just make that rectangle bigger or smaller. But if we hold shift and drag, then we have more control. So I'm holding shift so I can make that selection right there on the corner and then go down towards my arm. Once we have the selection the way you want, go ahead and hit enter, and that way the bounding box goes away. And now just hit backspace. And look, nothing happens because you cannot complete your request, because a smart object is not directly editable. If you run into that problem, you'll see it's a smart object. It's preserving what we can or cannot do to it. We can turn that off. Let's turn that off right now. So we're going to do two things. We're going to right click, rasterize layer. That takes that smart object away. And then we're going to take this layer mask, click on it, right click on it. So click to activate it, right click to get into apply layer mask. The apply layer mask applies it to the photo, and now there is no mask on this thing. So we've effectively done a destructive action. And then hit backspace. We've deleted that selection. To clear the marching ants, you have to hit Control D or Command D on the Mac. And there we go. So far, so good. Last step in this video, we want to place the Yellowstone photograph. So go into Google Classroom, download that file, and then upload it or drag it into here. I'll do the same thing. Once it lands, hit enter, and then just so we can still see our image, our face, our photograph, we're going to change the Yellowstone blending mode from normal to screen. You can kind of see what's happening here. So you can see the mountains and the water and the reflection kind of inside of my face there. And this is where you can get fancy and artsy. You're trying to make a statement. What kind of musician are you here? So I've just rotated a little bit. I'll hit enter. And that looks pretty good so far. And last thing before we get to the next video, we'll select both of those layers, the Yellowstone layer and your face layer, and we're going to group them into a folder. You can select them, so clicking on one, holding shift, clicking on the second one, and then click the folder. It puts them into a group. Let's name this face. And now let's save it. And I'll see you in the next video.